I do want to move on to, of course, the second topic. This is the big one. Now, look, I went and pulled out an article. Now, this was published by Xbox Era. Let's see. Do I have that in front of me? Yes, actually, here it is. It appears Obsidian has a third unannounced project in the works. And this does not, of course, this removes from the conversation Avowed and the Outer Worlds. Now, it goes on to say this. Now, first of all, let me give the author's name. It's Genghis Hassan Medin. Is, I believe, how you say it. He wrote this for Xbox Era. Now, this report is from August 1st of 2024. And the article goes on to say this. It looks like developer Obsidian Entertainment has another unannounced project in the works. Developer of the upcoming Outer Worlds sequel and the first-person role-playing game Avowed, we got a hint of something new coming thanks to eagle eyes of the community catching this on the company's newest hire and art director via LinkedIn. Per Daniel Kabakos' LinkedIn page, he's joined the company as a full-time art director around a week ago. Now, this is obviously back in August, folks. Now, of course, there's nothing else there. No images or any sorts of sneak previews here. And obviously, a game company is going to make games for as long as they're around. But hey, 2 games in the works with another in the backdrop. Obsidian is not letting up. Now, we talked about this before, see. They are the workhorse. There is no doubt about it. They've released almost 4 games. If you think about it, in the last couple of years, you have Grounded, which is a raging success. Pentiment won a lot of awards, not for me, but still a fantastic experience for a lot of people that enjoyed it.
Which is amazing that they have on Xbox, right? Like that's
the beauty of it. Yeah, you don't need a AAA $500 million game to be viable on your platform. You can have these small things. Obviously, Avowed is a raging success. The Outer Worlds 1 sold very well. The Outer Worlds 2 coming in on the back end of the year. So I did some digging, and I wanted to, look, I've said this before, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. So bear with me, folks. I'm a big Bethesda fan. I'm a huge fan of Todd Howard. Love the work that he has done. If he leaves tomorrow, he could leave with his head high because he is walking out the door having launched a game that he wanted to make for 20 years in Starfield, and which, of course, is another raging success RPG. And of Indiana Jones last year, another phenomenal game that he helped from inception. Right? It was his passion for the character to have that game made. And if he walks away tomorrow, he's leaving with these 2 behemoths under his belt. He's a winner. But we know he's not leaving now. They're working on the Elder Scrolls 6. There's an early build that the team is playing, and it has, according to an article that I read just the other day, it has put a smile on the face of everyone working on this game. That's very exciting. But then this is where the rant comes in. I'm a Fallout guy. I've played through Fallout 4. I haven't beaten it because I get through it halfway, and it's just, I want a new Fallout. Okay? My favorite Fallout game of all time is not made by Bethesda. It's made by Obsidian. Okay? Fallout New Vegas stands as one of the best in the series, in my opinion. Was my favorite Obsidian game of all time. That has now been replaced by Avowed. So here is the rant. I'm 54, right? Now, I'm going to be around at least for another 40. At least if I keep keeping myself in good shape and nothing egregious happens, I should be around to at least 104. At least I hope so anyway.
125, bro. 125. By the time we get there, technology should evolve enough to get us there. All right. My goal is to have every single one of my kids over 100 before I die.
Well, you know what? That's a good way. I want to keep the NYPD paying the pension for at least another 60-something years. Make
bleed them dry.
MFs,
you know what I'm saying? Take them out of business.
Indeed. I would definitely try. But look, here's the rant, ladies and gentlemen. We have not had a new Fallout game, and I'm not talking about Fallout 76. I understand that it was very MMO-ish, and now you can play, single player, and it has a story and has NPC. That's not the Fallout that I want to play. The same way the Elder Scrolls Online, you can play alone, you can have a great time with it. I'm not trying to live that life. I want a full-on single-player, story-driven, narrative-focused game in the Fallout universe. And if we're just going by pure mathematics, ladies and gentlemen, if we have to wait for Bethesda to release it, Fallout 5 is not happening at least until 2030. Like, what are we even talking about here? That, to me, is egregious. And I'm going to tell you why it's egregious. They just had one of the biggest video game shows ever released into a streaming service on Amazon known as Fallout. Hundreds of millions of people watched that show. And most of my normie friends who don't give a flying you-know-what about games could not stop talking about it. So at what point, C and chat, does Microsoft be like, you know something? We like money. We need to tap into this. Todd, we love you, but we can't wait for you to make a Fallout 5 in 2030. The second season is coming soon. We need to get some boots on the ground here. Well, interestingly enough, C Money, and I'm going to bring up your DM. I just got to go to Twitter real quick because there was a story that we did in fact talk about here, but it did go over a lot of the heads. A lot of people did not even run with this. Now, the story that I'm talking about is one that comes the way of Screen Rant. Now, they're normally a trades. They talk about film, but they talk about video games every now and again. This was written by George A. Aguilar. It was posted on February 4th, just a couple of weeks ago, right? And the title of it is Fallout New Vegas writer returns to Obsidian. Is a New Vegas sequel possible? Now, his name is John Gonzalez. He has returned to Obsidian after being away for 14 years, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, now it's starting to stir excitement. Now, he did come out and say, I'm back at Obsidian. I am working on something, but it is not, I quote, it is not New Vegas 2. But that's where it ends. So I did some digging. And
so he didn't say, to be clear, he didn't say it's not Fallout related.
No.
He just said it's not New Vegas 2. It's not
Fallout New Vegas 2 that he's writing, and that's where it ended. So, again, this is we are just spitballing here, ladies and gentlemen. Take it for just, opinions of two guys that really love Fallout. So I did some digging, and I said, they have been to a lot of places. They've been to Boston. They've been to Vegas. They've been everywhere. They've Washington. Been to London, right? Because London is canon, even though it's a mod that was made by by fans. A Fallout New London, right? Awesome, it's canon, but they've never been to New York. So then I started digging. I said, let me see if there's anything to this Fallout New York debate. Well, first of all, I pulled a story that was published April 25th of 2023. It was by James Thornton, right? And the lead title is from thegamer.com. It says, Fallout fans debate if New York would be a good setting. Now, one of the things, the controversies with Fallout New York is that a lot of people assume that it was cratered, meaning that, of course, if there's going to be Fallout, New York is going to get it first, right? That's what usually happens. Well, again, depending on who you speak to, it wasn't cratered, right? It's still there. It still exists. So they've been to Boston. They've been to Vegas. They've been to Washington, D.C. They've been to London. They haven't been to New York. And again, this is just some speculation, ladies and gentlemen. I know that whatever Obsidian is working on, it is not going to be Fallout 5. That is going to be probably Todd Howard's swan song. And again, that's just my thoughts, because you got to remember,
I think he does a Starfield 2.
You know what? Maybe
I think he does a Starfield 2 before he finishes.
He's gonna want to retire at some point. I get it. He's working on the Elder Scrolls 6, right? That's the next big one. There's a couple of Indiana Jones projects that he's going to be helping with that have already been greenlit, from what we understand through certain leaks. There is going to be a Fallout 5. There's going to be a Starfield 2 for sure. That's a lot of games. I don't know how much he has left in the tank or how much he wants to stay around. But if there is one thing I am certain about, C-Money, is that you don't bring back the writer of Fallout New Vegas, who has been absent from the company for 14 plus years. And the first things out of his mouth are, hey, I'm back at Obsidian to do some work, and that I'm not writing Fallout New Vegas 2. But he didn't say he wasn't writing a Fallout game. I think New York is up next. Let's get your thoughts on if this third game, this mystery third game that was reported on by Xbox Era, could in fact be a new Fallout, but not Fallout 5.
So, quick question before we dive into it. Do we know what he has been doing since he wrote that Fallout game?
I could look it up,
games,
but I don't know.
Because I mean, maybe he's back, but maybe he's written some other types of games that they now are, might be useful for their next game. Because my only thing about the idea of a new Fallout, right, from them, is that even like they had these interviews for Avowed, and obviously a lot of people brought up the idea of what could be next, and Fallout and things like that. And he has come out and said, yeah, they would love to do a Fallout. They also, Ryan kind of asked him about the fact that he knows that Fallout 5 would be a Todd Howard joint, but
he didn't say that, correct?
Something on the side, and they said they would like it. But he also said like they have their own stuff going on, right? And I feel like, as cool as it is for them to give us a Fallout game because fans crave that Bethesda IP, I just don't know. Like, I don't, with how good they are at making these worlds, and they've already created their own. Pillars of Eternity is a massive, IP as far as like the lore, and there's like fans of it, and they obviously the name itself has not garnered crazy amounts of sales. That's why instead of calling this Pillars of Eternity Avowed, they just called it Avowed, right? So like, I don't know if they would want to go ahead and invest time and energy in somebody else's IP, because even if they make a phenomenal Fallout game, it's still a Fallout game, right? And they're big enough to do it. The other thing is, if this was a game that was already being made and this guy's being brought into it, who's making it? Because from what we know, there's two big teams at Obsidian, and then the other teams are smaller, the Grounded team and the Pentiment team. So there's two big teams. One was making Avowed, the other one was making a Outer Worlds 2. So it would then be like, who else would, like, did they combine the other team? Are they gonna not make smaller games? I don't really know. And that's just the overall my question on the idea of it. But let's keep it to the fact that if they were, right, I feel like New York, as much as theoretically it should be, if Fallout were to take place in real life, New York would be the easiest to destroy, right? Big ass buildings, you nuke that bitch, like everything's gonna go everywhere. There's not gonna be anything less left. But if there was a way that maybe, I don't know, they put up some type of barrier or some type of way to mitigate the bomb, and it only blew up a certain area, and there's like, it's It's possible. It's still a wasteland, right? Like that's the whole point. It's not necessarily, Fallout is not about seeing these like these huge cities in their prime. It's to show you the destruction, right?
Right, of
So
course, yeah.
it would be interesting to see it. Some of these buildings will like just topple over and they'll make ramps or something for other areas to explore. I mean, there's a lot there that could be done. But I feel like ultimately New York, as cool as that might be, I don't know, maybe there's other, places. Like I feel like LA might be cool to see,
That's not a bad pick.
like California, right? Like California is huge. It has a lot of different biomes, it has a lot of different stuff. If they took a segment of California or made their own like condensed California and gave you some of each region, to fully explore, I feel like that would be more compelling of a world, because as cool as New York is, right? And I'm assuming they wouldn't do New York State, right? They would do
No, New
New
York
York
City. It
City.
would be downtown Manhattan. You spend a lot of time. Maybe get to Brooklyn. Maybe get and here's something that's interesting. You could use seasons. Now, the reason why I push back on the LA is because they already did Las Vegas, and they're so close. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't play Las Vegas, so I don't know. Are there a bunch of biomes in Las Vegas, or is it just Las Vegas?
I mean, it's pretty much just Vegas, but it's parts of California. It's still big. You know what I'm saying? It's still relatively big.
Yeah. I mean,
The
that's
Black John
that's
says Chicago would be a good pick. Now, if you're wondering where I came up with the New York thing, I went and pulled up a Reddit post that's years old. The thought of Fallout New York, you know where that started? Believe it or not, see money. 2013 is when the talk started to actually happen about them going to New York. So it's been discussed. And again,
now
if you Ed,
to go real quick, to be fair, based off of what you just said, though, Music 72 brings up a good point that Boston is close to New York.
I mean, that's true. That is definitely true. I mean, it's 3-hour run by me by driving, so it's not that
which is
far
about the
away.
same as Nevada, same as
Yeah.
Vegas to California. Because I remember, because when I went to E3 in 2017, I was thinking about going to Vegas. And I was like, man, that's a 3-hour drive, 3 hours back. I was like, so technically it's pretty similar.
I mean,
Of a
it's
situation.
definitely for sure. But I will say this: look, I'll put it to you this way: whether it be California, whether it be someone wrote Fallout Wyoming. I mean, listen, Fallout Heartland, Fallout Nebraska from Scorpio. This is a good one. Fallout Hawaii. That would be pretty damn interesting. That would be so different because it'd be tropical, but I don't know if there'd be any water left. It's going to be interesting. Look, I'll put it to this way.
I feel like nobody destroys Hawaii. I feel like in the world of Fallout, I feel like everybody says, "Yo, you guys want to hit Hawaii?" And they're like, "It's all right."
Fallout. Yeah, I mean, listen, I will say this: regardless of where they go, and I you know what, I want to bring something up to you as well because I have in front of me. I want to read this paragraph from this Screen Rant article. See, as if sensing this, and he knew he was going to get the questions the minute he announced it. As soon as he walked into the building, he tweeted, "Hey, I'm back." Right, 14 years removed. Gonzalez has made it clear that his current project is not a New Vegas sequel. Again, that's where it stops. And the article goes on to say, despite this, his return does raise questions, especially since Obsidian has shown interest in the Fallout series through remakes or a new story. This news comes as Obsidian is busy preparing for the launch of Avowed. Obviously, this is older and is still working to release The Outer Worlds 2. But bringing back such an important figure suggests the developer might be thinking about returning to the Fallout universe, particularly, and they say, the Mojave Wasteland, which is something I would not have thought about, but that is also something that could work as well.
Where's I just the Mojave Desert? I feel like I don't know where that is.
The Mojave Desert,
like
isn't that in Mojave Desert? Let me see.
So I'm not a geography dude.
In California. It's in California. I figured as much. So there you go. Fallout, California. There you go.
You see? No,
so
I don't know.
You might be onto something, see, but
I feel like there's a lot of biomes in California. You have like, where there's.
I mean, you can even get a snow one because there are mountains in California that get snow all the time, right? So
that's what I'm saying. It spans the entire, pretty much almost the entire, length of the country, right? You got all the south, all the north, up to what the only thing above it is Washington or something like that. It's the only thing.
You'd have Seattle. You have a couple of states.
Yeah, Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, that's what that would be off to the right, and of course you have Colorado.
That's where Microsoft is, right? In Washington.
Yes.
Redmond.
I don't listen. I'll say this, and obviously, we're going to wrap it up in a few minutes, but I do want to just close with, I don't know where they're going to go, and I do have to admit, just based on the story from Screen Rant, I don't necessarily think that you bring this particular person whose claim to fame in gaming comes the way of one of your most popular RPGs in Fallout New Vegas, just to kind of have him hang around and drink lattes. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. What's that?
What's his name again?
His name is John Gonzalez. He has returned after 14 years. So, I mean, again, a lot of people, people are talking about,
he worked on Horizon Forbidden West.
Yes, he did.
And Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yep.
So, which are also very similar to Fallout, like,
well, it's the end of the world, and now instead of it being a Fallout, it's just metal dinosaurs. But
so I mean, based off of the fact that he's kept in that same style of writing, like end of the world type scenario, maybe you're right. Maybe he is going to come do something like that. Maybe, look, also you got to remember, like, maybe they just want to do their own version of it, right? You figure, like, Obsidian has fantasy. They have like that Outer Worlds. Was that more like sci-fi steampunk?
Yeah,
right?
Well, no, it's more sci-fi out of space.
Yeah, right. And then maybe they want to do their own take, right? Like, I feel like Obsidian now, after the purchase, right, after they got bought. Remember, I don't know if when you look at it, you remember they were making their like Skyrim. Right. Yes. Before they got purchased 100%, they were going to make a multiplayer Skyrim, right? Like, that has been confirmed. But, once they, Xbox got involved, it was like, well, take out the multiplayer crap. And they were just going to make their Skyrim, right? Like, that's what the game was going to be. But then when they bought Bethesda, it was like, oh, snap, we don't need a Skyrim from you guys because we have that, right? So it's like, just like Outer Worlds was not a full open thing. Why don't you go ahead and do your own thing with Avowed, make it slightly less big so that you can go ahead and actually finish this thing. But they're able to kind of make it their own. Maybe they are being like just like the opposite of, and I wouldn't say like the opposite, but like the counterpart to Bethesda, where it's like there's Elder Scrolls and then there's Pillars, right? Elder Scrolls is your bigger, crazy open world, experience. And then Pillars or Avowed is your, slightly smaller, still big, but slightly smaller version. Maybe they're just going to mirror the type of games that exist, but give a smaller, more containable, version of it, more contained version of it. So maybe they're making their own type of Fallout, game. And they want him to do that. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of ways that it can go. But the good news is the fact that he's on, that means he's working on something new. If he's working on something new, that means there's already a new game lined up for us to get in Game Pass, baby. Whatever it may be, don't matter, because they're gonna make it a banger. And that is the real exciting part of all of this, is that they're not stopping. They're bringing people back. They want that quality, right? Like, if anything, what this shows you is that they want this caliber of writer, right, coming in here. Now, Horizon doesn't help, right? It doesn't help the case.
The first one was really good. I'm not gonna front. I did not.
I feel like it's more about the direction of the cast than it was the story, right? I think the problem they had was they wanted Aloy to be the most boring woman ever known to mankind, and they took an actress who's actually a very good actress and drugged her up every time before her show just to make her sound like she's the most disinterested in life ever. Like no matter what's taking place, it's like, yeah, wow, this is so strange. Oh my God, I don't know why. Like, oh my God, Jesus, like just end it now. You know what I'm saying? So, look, hopefully he's working on something that's going to be very exciting for us to see. Hopefully, coming in the next gen. I mean, listen, all the rumors have pointed to 2026 for next gen for Xbox. I will say that Xbox is known to squash a rumor that they think is unfounded, and they feel like
it's going to be a detriment to the brand.
Yeah, because think about it. If people think a next gen's coming next year, that would stop people from buying a console this year, right? Because they're like, oh man, the next gen's coming, right? So you would want that to be squashed if that was false, but they're not going to lie to us. He's not going to tell us, no, it's not coming. And then, haha, tricked you, bitch. Like it is coming. Like I don't think that that's going to be something that they would do. So I think 2026 is still very much part of the idea for the next gen. And Shuhei just did an interview where he said 2028 is looking like the PlayStation 6. Yeah. So you're talking almost a 2-year gap. I'm ready to see what new experience we're going to get. Whatever this guy's working on, I'm going to assume that it's going to be for a next gen title from Obsidian, which is dope, which means that chances are they're going big for their next, for their next game, right? Whatever they're working on had to start pre-production, probably from the Avowed team. Like this might be Avowed's, like the Avowed team's next game. If they just hired him and they're working on, as these games wrap up, they're always working on what's next, right? So, they bring him in, have him get started, and in a few years, you might have this game go up against the a next gen PlayStation release.
Listen, whichever way, I can tell you this right now: if you are a fan of Obsidian, you are winning, because not only are you many of us still playing through Avowed, right? Weeks after its launch, we played it 2 weeks before it launched, and now we're over a month playing it, which is, again, it does not seem to be getting old. The Outer Worlds 2 is going to be even better than the original. The original was unbelievably great. You're going to have Unreal Engine 5. You're going to have all the bells and whistles that you saw in Avowed, even more so in the Outer Worlds 2 at the back end of the year. And now we hear that they're working on a third project. There's no doubt that it's going to be, at least in my opinion, a Fallout game. Where, I don't know. I'd like it to go to New York, but of course I'm in New York, so that's why I want it there, and we'll see. But you are going to get, I would imagine, the Outer Worlds 2 is going to do well. So you're going to get a sequel to that. You're going to get a sequel to Avowed, because that has exploded on the scene, and now you have potentially a new Fallout game happening. Now, I don't think that it's happening next year or even the year after that. But there has been talk of this, them working on this third project all the way going back to 2024, even before then. So we will definitely see. But, ladies and gentlemen,
real quick, what's another thing, real fast before we leave? Sure, let's not forget how Muse might help Bethesda turn these games around quicker.
Yeah, that's a very interesting.
You know what I'm saying? So we're used to the idea of them having to painstakingly do every little thing to get to somewhere where they can make their game work right, or fill their kind of desire for what they want the game to be. And Muse AI is coming in right when they're going to be
that's a phenomenal thought theory, brother. I didn't even consider that. That's right. There's new, and again, you don't want to see. I know this is the deep dark rabbit hole that we're not going to go down now, about the potential of job loss, because that's ultimately what's going to happen.
This is actually going to save jobs, bro. This is what people don't understand. If these teams keep taking 5, 6, 7, 8 years to make a game, when that game comes out, the chances of it hitting where it needs to hit to recoup that cost is crazy. If Muse can help these huge teams pump out AAA games back like in the 360 era when we used to get a Halo every 3 years like clockwork, right? If they can get down to a 3-year cycle, they're not firing people because of that. They're bringing more people on, starting more projects because they can develop more games
quicker
in the same amount of time as they used to. They could do 2 games for every 1 game they were making. This is going to be phenomenal.